Hey guys, Chris from CJ Outdoors. Wanted to make a quick video about making some beef jerky. The wife came to me the other day and said, you know, I'd really like some beef jerky, so figured I'd go ahead and get some stuff around and whip up a quick batch. What's nice about this is it's fairly simple. You can use any kind of meat you want, jerky, for that matter. It goes the same for venison, beef, whatever you're doing. The only thing that changes about this is the beef, and it's quite simple. I mean, anybody can do it. The seasonings and the cures that I use even come with an instruction book to make it in the oven. I mean, I don't use an oven. I use a smoker. Some guys will use a dehydrator, but this method we're going to use a smoker. One thing that I will recommend highly is a slicer. If you don't have a meat slicer, it's a lot tougher, and I've done it, but I can tell you that the slicer is going to be worth its weight in gold. We're just going to go over here. I've got some London broils here for beef. I feel like that's going to, or I don't feel, but I found that working with the London broil is, I feel, the best beef to use when you're making the jerky. You can get it, relatively on sale a lot of times, and it comes out fantastic. So London broils, trim the fat. That's going to be your very first thing. Get a sharp knife, trim all the fat off the London broil. The fat, whether it's venison, beef, you don't want it on your jerky. It gets really rancid, it tastes terrible, and it's just going to ruin your whole experience. So make sure you trim as much fat off the meat as you can. Okay, that's number one tip. I'm going to go ahead and slice up what I got here, and I'll come back with you and show you, how to apply the seasoning and the cure. So we'll be back in a few. Alright guys, so I got all the meat sliced up. I had to move some stuff around because the lighting in my kitchen is terrible to be nice. So I wanted to kind of get some of the lighting off of the last cooking episode I did where I was doing this chairwood smoked venison burgers. I noticed when I was editing the footage that it didn't work well. So anyway, we're going to try it this way. I don't know if it's going to work, so bear with me. I got everything sliced up with the meat slicer. If you're going to do this, and I mean, it's worth going and trying to find a deal on one. I can't stress enough how easy that was compared to sitting there and slicing it with a knife by hand. The meat is much more consistent as far as the thickness that you want. You get much better pieces out of it. So I'm really happy using the meat slicer. So anyway, a lot of the stuff that I get and that I use hunting, so forth, I go to Cabela's. Getting the high mountain kits are what we use to make the jerky. A lot of guys make their own jerky seasonings. I'm not opposed to that. I think that's a great idea. I just don't have the time to research it and do it. And I found that these are fantastic. We made some venison and some beef jerky last year using this kit, and it's great. It comes with the cure. It'll come with your seasoning, and it'll come with a a little chart as far as how much cure to use and how much seasoning to use per pound. So I stress getting a scale. The scale's gonna save you a lot of headache and make things work a lot easier. The chart, so backing up, I've got just a touch over 4 pounds of meat here after it's trimmed. That's very important. Don't weigh it before you trim it. Weigh it after you trim it. That way you can be much more accurate in what you're putting in the bags. Get yourself a couple gallon bags, okay? And you're going to see why in a minute. Plus, these bags are going to go in the fridge with the meat in it. You're going to want to let that cure for as long as you can. 12 to 24 hours minimum per the instruction book. You can go longer, obviously, it's not going to hurt. But, that's following the book. So, I'm just going to make 2 pounds of the original seasoned blend, and I'm going to make 2 pounds of the jalapeno blend, which I'm pretty excited about. That's going to be just for me. I don't think anybody else in the house is going to eat it, so we'll, we're excited about that. 2 pounds is going to be 1 tablespoon of the seasoning 1 tablespoon and 1 teaspoon of the cure. And they stress again to be very specific with that. So get yourself some measuring spoons, get yourself the bags, and we're going to start with the cure. And they also stress to make sure it's nice and loose. I don't see how that's an issue. So it loosens up pretty well in the bag. And from here it's pretty much straightforward. Get your bag. You're going to do 1 tablespoon. They say loose, not compacted into the spoon, so make sure it's loose. Okay? And then 1 teaspoon. Alright. Set that over here. I went scouting a few days ago. I got the footage edited up, but unfortunately it just wasn't much. I kicked up a couple deer, but it wasn't anything special. In fact, I don't know what they were. I think they were doe. Could have been a buck. I don't know. I only saw the back end of them. So, where we are hunting, public land, in that area has a ton of fields. I don't know. Maybe I'll post a video, but they haven't harvested the fields yet, and the straw was up to like my waist. So that made life really tough. But on another spot, I got some good deer on a trail camera, so I'm excited about that. I'm looking forward to the season coming up. Right now it is June 29th. So things are going to start to get fun here, coming up here. It's scout time, right? Alright, so turn your scale on. We're going to put 1 pound of meat on the scale, or 2 pounds actually, excuse me. And they stress, this is important. And making sure that you are weighing everything precisely, and I think that has to do with the cure. Well, I don't think, I know it does. You want to make sure that your meat is weighed out accordingly and that you're using the correct amount with the cure. Almost. 1 little slice. Perfect. Alright, so meat in the bag, and here is a trick. Make sure you get it all separated. Try to get it around different spots of the bag, but the big trick here is when you close this bag to season and cure it, you're going to want to actually leave as much air in the bag as you can, just to shake it and cure it. Okay? As I said earlier, we're going to do this in a smoker. I haven't decided what kind of wood I want to use yet. I don't know if I want to use hickory, if I want to use oak. That's the fun part about smoking. I tell you what, you take the outdoor hunting side out of everything. You go online and there is a whole nother world to smoking. Cherry woods, pecan, hickory, bourbon, oak, apple. I could put apple into this, see how that turns out. And that's the other fun part about this, is you experiment what you want to do. With your meat thickness. When you slice it, if you slice it, with the grain, your jerky's not going to be as chewy. If you slice it against the grain, then you get that harder chewier jerky, and that's fun, right? Some people like that harder, chewier jerky. Some people they like the softer, easier to chew jerky. So, if you're doing this, play with it. It's a good it's a good hobby. I enjoy it. So, the air in there, and then just start going to town, roll around as much as you can. you're going to want to make sure that every single piece of meat gets coated with that cure especially. Obviously the seasoning is important, but the cure is going to allow you to not have to refrigerate this jerky, okay? For, you know, I do this for new people, so, you know, when you look at beef jerky in the supermarket or anywhere, it's not in the refrigerator, it's not, you know, anywhere cold. You know, the cure is going to be able to allow you to go from this point to smoking it, to either putting it in a baggie or vacuum packing it. I vacuum pack it and put it in your pantry, and it'll be good for a year. So, cure is important. And again, if you go online, you can ask the same question and get 10 different answers. You know, some guys use a dehydrator, some guys use the smoker, some guys use the oven and use liquid smoke. And everyone has an opinion. You know, there's no right or wrong, I don't think. I think the most important part is you enjoy what you're doing. And enjoy your self-accomplishment that you just made a whole bunch of beef jerky for yourself. And you didn't have to go to the supermarket and spend, what, $10 for a little 1 ounce pack of beef jerky. So, that's the best part. Alright. And when you get that cure in there, you'll already notice, and this is how you know you got it well mixed. You notice how dark the meat's already starting to get, you know, versus the piece that's not got the cure on it. And that means the cure is penetrating the meat, it's getting into it, and they want, like I said, they want you to let it sit in the bag, in the fridge, for 12 to 24 hours. Tomorrow, I'll be, you know, afternoon, I'll be starting this. So it'll be over 12 hours. It'll be more like, I don't know, 18 hours when I start mine. Which is fine. Some people say 24 hours. You know, again, if you go online and you ask the same question, you'll get 10 different answers. But that says 12 to 24. I don't see why you have to go the full 24. But, you know, if you want to, go for it. All right. So once you got that nice and mixed up, and you think you got every single little piece, every centimeter of that piece done, crack it, take all the air out, all of it, and you're going to smell that and you're going to be like, oh yeah, because that's a good smell. Take that, throw it in your fridge. And then if that's the only batch you're making, you're good. I'm going to make another batch with the jalapeno for myself. And then tomorrow, we'll throw it in the smoker. 150 to 160 degrees. We're not cooking it, we're drying it. That's very important. If you're using a smoker or an oven, you're drying the meat. You are not cooking the meat. And I think a lot of people get that confused. So we're going to do 150, 160 degrees, low temperature. Okay? And it's going to be a 4 to 7 hour day smoking that, watching your smoker. It just all depends on how well your meat dries. So in the video I'll show you, what a done piece looks like. And again, that goes back to what your preference is. If you like that real hard, crispy jerky, great. If you like a little bit of chew to it, which is what I like, what my wife likes, then you take it out a little sooner. So we'll check back tomorrow, throw it all in the smoker, and after that we'll vacuum pack it and we'll be done. So we'll see you tomorrow. Okay guys, it's the next day. We're going to go ahead and get ready to get our jerky on the racks and into the smoker. But before I did that, I wanted just to go over, a few minor things about what we're doing now. So I thought about it last night, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna actually use cherry. And like I said last night, this is the fun of doing this. You can use all these different woods and try these different flavors, and if you do it right, you won't ruin a thing. Now you do have to exercise some caution. For example, like if you use like an alder wood, that's not a really heavy wood. It's best for fish and things like that, doing like a cold smoke on a fish. If you're going to go ahead and use some of the other fruit woods, like apple for example, that's a fantastic wood for poultry and game birds like pheasant and grouse and chicken. I'm going to use cherry. Cherry's got a little bit heavier of a flavor to it, and it actually pairs really well with beef. So we're going to give that a shot. Of course, you could always use the staple, which is hickory. Most people, that's where they go with. And it comes out just fine using the hickory, but you play with it. You want to try different things and make it a hobby. Make it something that you enjoy doing, and something that if you have a family, have your family try with you. Oak. Oak is very, very well stapled in the South. A lot of people use oak on their barbecue. Mesquite. You can get a mesquite wood, and of course I don't have to tell you, what they use the mesquites with: pork, ribs, pork chops, things like that. So play with it, have fun with it, and I guarantee you'll always be happy with your result because you did it yourself, and you'll have that satisfaction. One other thing, if you are using a smoker and you're new to this, do not put water in your pan. Why? Because we're drying it, right? We're not cooking it like I said last night. Instead, take your pan, wrap it in foil, use it as a drip pan. It'll make cleanup so much easier. All you gotta do is pull your foil off and you're done cleaning up. So don't put water in your pan for this, particular project you're doing. Jerky, you want it dry. You don't want water in there putting moisture into the meat. So one other thing that I wanted to mention was, while your racks by themselves will work, I found that it is a lot easier if you use a mat. Okay, these metal mats, they're a bit smaller, as far as the pattern, if you will, than the rack, for the smoker. And this is just going to make it a lot easier to lay, your jerky out, and to get a little more of a, an even area. Plus, sometimes if you got some of those small pieces, right, you can't get it to lay quite right, and then it falls down, and it makes it easier. So if you can, get some of these mesh racks. So I'm gonna lay it all out. I'll show you how I lay it out, and then we're gonna go outside and smoke it. So we'll see you back in a minute. Okay guys, so I got most of it laid out. I'm probably gonna have to do this in two smoking, call it what you will. I just had a little too much of each to get it all in one tray, which is a good thing, I think. So I got one tray of the jalapeno, and I did 2 trays of the original, because the original is going to get 8 more with, family in the house. A jalapeno is going to be just for me. And this is, basically the type of, it's what works for me. You can see how I have it laid out, but one part that you may or may not see about this is you don't want to lay it out and put it together like a puzzle. You want to have room in between the meat. The reason why is you want the smoke to pass this tray and go up to the next tray and so forth. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to put the jalapeno on the bottom, okay? Because I don't want the spice, the jalapeno, dripping onto the original. It's okay if the original drips onto the jalapeno, because it's already got some of that original seasoning in it. The only difference that I could see when you look at the ingredients, is the jalapenos added to this. So, you know, it'll be fine. So I got it laid out. We're gonna go out to the smoker, add our wood, and we're gonna go about 5 hours and see how it looks after about 5 hours. These are some bigger pieces. The meat slicer really makes it so much easier. I can't tell you. I mean, if you don't have the money for a meat slicer, don't let me discourage you. I'm probably coming across a bit about that. I've done it both ways, and if you do this by hand with a knife, hey, do it. All I'm saying is that the meat slicer just seems to make all your pieces a lot more consistent, the same thickness, everything. You get a little bit better product out of it, I feel, but don't let me discourage you from, grabbing a knife, make sure it's sharp, and cutting up your meat that way. It's going to come out great because you did it. So let's go out to the smoker and add our wood, and we're going to get this party started. Okay guys, so I use a Masterbuilt smoker. Can use any kind of smoker, I'm just telling you what I'm using. The one thing about this smoker, if you're going to use this smoker, when it comes to making jerky and drying, is the way the element works is it heats it up and it heats up the wood with the same element. Okay, so we're going to smoke this jerky at 160 degrees over 5 hours. To start, the element won't ignite the wood to make the smoke if it's already up to temperature. Okay, so I start it at 120, put the meat in, put the wood in, then I shoot it to 160, and that gets the wood going. That's just a little tip for anybody that's using the smoker to make jerky. It makes it makes it a little easier. I mean, it'll eventually get it going, but it's only going to start getting it going, when the temperature drops below the set temperature, and gets the element going. So anyway, got the pan in there. Remember, no water. Okay. And our first tray is going to be the jalapeno. Why? Because we don't want the jalapeno dripping on the original. So we'll throw that in. And you may have to finagle these mats a little bit. It's not too bad. Make sure you got it in there and it's in there straight. Okay. Next tray. Okay. And last tray. Whoop. Almost lost my tray. Alright. Yeah, be careful. This is hot, even at 120 degrees, it's hot, So don't burn yourself. Alright. So don't have my cameraman, she's at work, so this is basically what we're going for here. Just so you can get an idea. You can kind of get a before and after of what it's going to look like when we pull it out. So there's that. Go ahead and shut it. Then we're going to set our temperature. We're going to go up to that 160 mark. Set our time. Heating's going. Go over here. Now this is one mistake again with this smoker. People tend to stuff this thing with wood, and I don't know why, but don't. It doesn't need a lot of wood to smoke. Now you do have to go out every 45 minutes and add wood. So that's the only downfall to this. There are other smokers out there that have the self-feeding device. So anyway, that's all you're going to need for 45 minutes. You don't need much. Okay, I mean you're wasting wood if you're trying to put more than that in there. So the element's on. Throw it in, and off you go. I just wanted to interject something here that I failed to mention before, so my apologies. This, I wouldn't say it concerned me, but it made me think if this was correct or not. But, and then after doing some research, I found out that it is in fact normal. But when you lay your jerky out, you're going to find, this is some of the stuff that I had left over, you're going to find that it's going to be, it's going to look cooked, I mean, for lack of a better word, and what that is that's the cure. So I just wanted to, anybody who's new at doing it, I wanted to show you that meat is going to look cooked. Now, to that point, if you pull some meat out of the bag and it still is red, the cure did not, penetrate that meat, so you may not want to jerk that. And if you do, eat it or refrigerate it, and eat it within a week, because it's not, it's not preserved, right? So you get sick, So just wanted to interject that. I'll see you guys back in a bit. Okay, guys. We're actually at about 4.5 hours right now, so I decided to kind of take a look and see what we got. Just for disclosure, I already opened it, so that's why you're not going to see too much smoke, bellowing out. But where we're at right now, and I wanted to do this to kind of show anybody who's not done it before, where you're at with your consistency. Sorry, cameraman bumped the camera. So the very bottom rack is going to be your driest because it's closest to your heat source, okay? And right now, on some of your thicker pieces, it has kind of the rubbery consistency of, what I would say like Jack Link jerky, or some, sort of bag jerky, okay? So that's the very bottom one. I want it a little drier. So we're going to throw that back in. And just the top tray, you'll see a difference. Now, it's not much of a difference, but it's a difference. This is a little wetter yet, okay? You can kind of see. So you want that drier. It has a tear consistency to it now, but I'm thinking within the next hour, maybe hour and a half, we'll be right where we want to be. That being said, the bottom tray I'll probably take out within the next half hour to 45 minutes. So that's something to think about, okay? It all depends on how it's sliced, how thick the pieces are. I mean, all that plays into effect. You want to pull your pieces that you're happy with, okay? And then if you got other pieces that need to, a little more time, you leave them in. So we're going to leave all these in, at least for the next 45 minutes. But we're getting close, especially on that bottom tray. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll probably pull the ones that I want to pull in the next 45 minutes to an hour, and then we'll get back with you guys and show you the finished product. And hopefully, if you try this at home, you'll be successful. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Alright guys, so a little over 5 hours, about 5.5 hours to get every piece the way that we like it. Some of the pieces came out at about the 4 hour, 45 minute, almost 5 hour mark. So between 5 and 6 hours is about where we were at with this batch, but it's always different because it's, your meat, the thickness that you slice it, all that, takes into consideration with that. I mean, I had one batch where I almost got, I had to do it almost 7 hours with some venison, and I did it thick, because I was using a knife, not a slicer. So anyway, so once you pull it, get your racks out, let it sit out as long as, give it a few hours to cool off. You're also going to find that the pieces are going to have, some oil on it. All right, before you bag it, before you vacuum pack it, put it in a jar, whatever you do to store the jerky. You want to pat it as much as you can, get all the oil off the jerky, alright, because that oil, it'll become rancid, it won't last as long, it's going to taste terrible. So get the oil off the jerky before you vacuum pack it. There's nothing wrong with letting it sit out overnight to dry. I might just do that. I don't know. Depends on how much I got to do tonight. So Ella wanted to say hi.
Hi.
And we're going to go ahead and sign off. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please like, subscribe, and share. Not a ton of videos yet, but we're working on it. You know, more and more videos. This little one's going to do some crappie fishing for you guys eventually at some point. We'll get that on video. Until then, look forward to hunting season, and God bless you. Take care.